in our webinar now, we've been able to talk about, we've been able to understand the purpose of the CAC scholarship. We've been able to ascertain what the CAC is looking for in a candidate. I've already gone through with you through the application process, and I've emphasized that it's important you apply pretty well when you're applying to a university. Now we need to know, how do we demonstrate that we are that ideal candidate that the CAC is looking for? Okay, the ideal candidate that the CAC is looking for. So we're looking at the first essays, and Ms. Joan will be taking us through that. So Joan, you're welcome. You can please unmute yourself and take us through the first 4 essays.
Okay, hello everybody once again. So I'll be taking us through the development impact essays part. So I'll share with you my screen. Faithful, please can you
okay, I'm just gonna exactly, you can share now.
So I hope everybody can see my screen.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So before I start, I'd love to tell you that these are my personal opinions and insights on how you can develop an exceptional development impact essay. They do not represent the CSC opinions when it comes to writing this essay. So it's just my personal guideline that I used when I was writing these essays. So just to help you understand how to maneuver about these essays, okay? So as I said before, that CSC does not just look at your academic merits. It also wants to see your potential impacts, like what are you coming to do when you go back home? Like how is your MSc course going to benefit your country? What development needs are you coming to cater or solve? Should you get that course, okay? So it's a very significant aspect of your application. Please go all out, think out of the box, be unique, as Faithful stated earlier, be unique, think out of the box. So normally the questions that are stated there in that sector are direct, and they are very direct, and they help you guide your thought process when it comes to writing this essay. So I'd really oblige you to follow those instructions. If, let's say, for the first question they've asked you, state how your MSc course is related to the development issues globally, nationally, and locally, please do state that. Do not state only globally alone, or locally alone, or national alone. State all of those 3 stages that they want to see how your course will cater to that. Okay, so we'll go on to the first question. So how is your proposed study related to issues, development issues at the global level, national level, and local level? So as I said, you've been given 250 words for that first question. Do show how your course is related to these issues globally, nationally, and locally. Be precise, be focused, do not be all over the place. Show first how, if you're being given an MSc course, you're going to take your MSc course in water treatment, how is that going to solve the development issues globally and nationally and locally? Show that clearly, please. And also, as it states, how are these development issues related to your CSC theme and the wider sector? How are they connected? As you apply your course, there are the 6 global themes, CSC themes, and how are the development issues in your nation or in your locality related to the CSC themes? How are they going to promote global prosperity or strengthening resilience or the CSC themes that have been stated there, how are they interconnected? How are they related? Show that in that 250 words that you're going to be writing for in the first question. Okay? And as you write this essay, please do some research. As Faithful had stated earlier, go about reading these reports by the world organizations, UN, World Bank, WHO. Try to see what development issues are based in your sector. Maybe you're going to study environmental management or fintech. See what issues are being what kind of issues numerous nations are facing at that time, and maybe you can tailor them um, towards your country and what you want to go and study in school. So do some research and provide practical examples, provide data, as Faithful had said before, provide some data. And please, when you provide your data, state which source do you get this data from. Do not just say 75% or the youth people in maybe Nigeria. State like which source have you gotten this data from, okay? Do not write an essay just being abstract. Please give concrete examples, give data, show like you know what you're talking about, not just writing for the sake of writing, okay? And as you go through the papers, the scholarly articles, as you read about the issues that maybe might be going on in your country, do not be copying and pasting, just taking from the internet source or just from the report and placing it in your essay. Please try to alter it, modify it, tailor it to be in line with your nation or what you want to go and study. As in, craft your essay, please. Do not just copy and paste, because most of these reviews are academic, so they do have some bit of knowledge of what goes on in your field. Okay, so on to our second essay. Sorry, our second essay. That's number 2 of that sector: application of your new skills and the qualifications that you've attained. So it's how will you cope the skills and knowledge and qualifications that you have obtained through your MSc course. So they want to see the knowledge that you've obtained by you being sponsored in one of the UK universities. How are you going to put these skills into use? So you need to clearly show them that if you've been sponsored to go and do international relationships or international something to do with sustainability, how are you going to put these skills into use should you come back home? So you need to show how you're going to put them, and you should put in mind that you've already stated that the development issues globally, nationally, and locally. So try to show them, not just do not focus on one area, not say that okay, I'm going to put my skills into use this way in Nigeria, not just focusing on the nation alone. Just tell them how are you going to put them into use locally in the hometown or in the village, in the rural area. Then come to how you're going to put your skills into use nationally, how they're going to be used, and maybe in the future 10 years to come, how are you going to put your skills that you obtained when you came to the UK to develop your region or Africa, that is. So cover all areas, do not focus on one level alone, okay? So know the space that you're in, and just be honest on how you're going to put the skills into it. And another thing, do not be overly ambitious, as in do not say like I'm going to do this with these skills this way, making big plans on how you're going to put the skills into which are not realistic. So try to be realistic as possible. Okay, on to the question, and that's the expectations, the time frames, and beneficiaries of your proposed study should you get the scholarship. So what I'd say is that think about this as a project. Just as Faithful said that you're applying for a 20 million naira grant. So should you be given this funding, what are the outcomes that you want to achieve with this project? Who are the beneficiaries of this project, and the time that you take to implement this project or oversee the impact that you want to make? So think about it as a project. So when you get the funding, that is, what are the expectations? What do you want to change? What do you want to see as the impact in your home country or in your region or in your local town? What are the impacts that you want to make? So as you write these expectations, put in mind that you are applying under a specific CSC theme. If it is to see global prosperity or promoting global prosperity, what is it that the outcomes, what are the outcomes under this theme that you want to see? Also put in mind that if it's an MSc in environmental management, what is it what is it that you're coming to solve? What issues that will you want to see change in your home country based in this sector of environmental management? Okay, so show that the contributions that you're coming to make are invaluable, because these are the things that will make you stand out. Not just come and say that when I get the MSc, I'm coming to um, lecture in school. Okay, yes, you can do that, but that's very basic, because almost everybody would want to lecture. I don't know, but do not be too basic. Show how your contributions are going to be invaluable, because they want to see, okay, these are the impacts that will make you stand out. Okay, and the time frame. Show how long are you going to take to implement your outcomes. So I'd advise that you respond this in yearly terms. And in yearly terms, I'm not meaning that you should respond like in 10 years to come, I would have done this, or in 5 years to come, I would have done this. So I gave an example here that says, like, for instance, by 2025, maybe I wish to have established a training center, or by 2022, I'll be working with the health ministry to increase this and that from 10% to 15% in region, specific region. So write specific time frames. Do not just be abstract and be like, okay, in 10 years time, I would have done this, I would have done that. Just show them like, okay, for this outcome, this is the timeline that I've placed for it. Maybe by 2020, I'm sorry, by 2025, I'd like to see this outcome to have been implemented, and put some data like I'd love to see that the literacy levels have increased from 20% to 25% by 2022. Okay, and be realistic. Do not give short time frames for outcomes that normally take a longer time frame. Maybe um, establishing a training center, you can't, maybe, okay, do not know, but based on your area, maybe there's some certain areas that you cannot establish a training center in less than a year. So be realistic. Do not give shorter time frames for expectations that you expect to see in more than 5 years, maybe. Okay. And when we come to beneficiaries, like who whom are you targeting? Who are the people that are supposed to benefit from your calls? So I say that do not be a jack of all trades. Do not come and say that I'd love to see my countrymen, like all Kenyans, to benefit from this MSc study. Not everybody can benefit from your program. So be specific, like whom are you targeting, both directly and indirectly. Um, so you should ask yourself, who are the primary beneficiaries of my study? Who are the secondary beneficiaries of my study? So maybe you're going to um, do something with gender, like, okay, maybe the beneficiaries are teenage girls in this area, maybe teenage girls in urban cities or teenage girls in rural cities. Those are your specific beneficiaries. Do not state a whole region or being just blunt, like, okay, maybe all Ghanaians are going to be beneficiaries, so do not do that. Be specific as possible. Okay. Then measuring your impact. That's the fourth part of that part. How are you going to measure the impact that you want to achieve? So, in other words, like, how are you going to evaluate the outcomes that you want to achieve with your proposed study should you get the scholarship? So this depends on what impacts you want to see, because somebody may be going to do civil engineering, won't state the same impact as somebody going to do policy, public health, something like that. So what kind of impacts do you want to see, and how are these impacts? Uh, how are they going to be measured? So I've started like some examples whereby like changing statistics through the data collection, maybe that would show how you can evaluate your impacts that you made, or growth in your organization. Maybe if you started a training organization in a certain area, should it grow maybe in 3 years' time? You can see that how that's how you can evaluate it. Okay. So that's it from me. And what I'd really tell you about this part is be realistic, don't be overly ambitious, and be specific as possible. Don't be general, don't generalize it, and follow the guideline of the question. If they've asked you this and that, give them that. Do not go and write something else. Okay? That's it for me. Over to you, Faithful.
All right, thank you so much, Joanne. Thank you. We so straight now to the next four essays, and this is where I'll be talking about the next four essays. You permit me, I'll be very fast here. All right, so you have your next four essays. After the four essays dealing on development impact, you have the next four essays, okay, and I'll be talking about this. So the next four essays, the fifth, first of all, you want to talk about the objectives during the award, career plans in 5 years following the award, long-term career plans, and the proposed study in the UK. Okay, so there are four questions I'm going to address here. So I'm going to go with the first question, which is objectives during the award. What are your objectives during the award? Now I'm going to state this here. How do you write this essay? Remember, all your essays, everything has to be linked. It must be a packed, like a full pack, you know. And when you're writing your essays, you should ensure that you have a story that you're selling. So you must reflect and think about a story that you're selling. Now let me use the story that, okay, that let me just invent a story now. And maybe this story will be related to myself. Okay, I studied fintech at University of Stirling, and I've been observing that most people in Nigeria, they undergo what is financial fraud. We all can relate to MMM, how MMM, went away with a lot of people's funds, and nobody was able to, the sector was not well regulated. Okay, but we also know what is happening in this cryptocurrency world and all that. You have a problem, and then you're talking about how you're going to develop it during the essays you've written, as John has told us. Now it now comes to your objective during the award. You must state what you're going to do during the time you'll be having the scholarship that is going to help you develop the skills, develop the knowledge you need to go back to your country and create the impact that you're talking about. So you're going to sell yourself like that. So you're going to state what are the things you're going to be doing. For example, when you go to the UK, there are different associations, there are different communities, okay? So when you go to the UK, for example, if you're in public health, then you would say that, okay, I'm going to immerse myself in the rich public health organizations in the UK. And those are some of those organizations, you can state them. And some of them, they organize by monthly meetups. Okay, so if you're maybe in fintech sector, you would immerse yourself in the fintech community in the UK or in Scotland or in Ireland, Northern Ireland, or in Wales, wherever you will be. you will immerse yourself in the communities. For you can state the community you're going to be immersing yourself in, probably the fintech Scotland community, or the conservation UK community, or the public health meetup community in the UK that you'll be doing. Okay, so you can just state it there. So when you state it there, then it shows that you'll be meeting up these people, and through that you can develop network, you can develop connections that are very, very important. Okay, all right, so you're going to state something like that. For example, too, they also want to know what you're going to be doing that is ordered apart from your classroom work. What are the things you're going to be doing that is ordered apart from your classroom work? For example, do you love debate? Is debate related to your course? Okay, then you'll be saying that, okay, I'm going to join the debating society in my university, and in this club, I hope to share my insights with my thoughts and my insight with other intellectuals in the debating club, and learn about the culture of other people. Probably I'm going to also go for a festival that would enrich my knowledge and my awareness about the UK culture, and also develop my connections outside of the classroom. What are the things you're going to be doing during the award? Now, I'm not telling you all this I'm saying, that I'm telling you that you should write all of them. Do not duplicate me, all right? I am different from you. You are different from me. Sell yourself. What will you be coming with? What will you be doing during your award? You should state that, okay? State that there, and write as creatively as possible and as detailed as possible. That's for the objectives during the award. Then you then have another question that talks about your career plan in the 5 years following your award. So you're done with your studies now. Okay. Sorry again, let me go back again. Objectives during the award. Talk about, do you plan going for conferences in other in Europe? Okay. Do you plan developing connections with research bodies around your study area? Okay. Do you plan going for field trips? Would you like to engage in field trips? Just be creative. What would you do during the award that will develop your knowledge, that will develop your skill, so that you can come back and impact your country? So then the career plans in the 5 years following the award. What is your career plan in 5 years' time? Okay. There's something about the Commonwealth Scholarship. Even if you do not gain this scholarship, your life will not be the same. I know what I'm telling you. Even if you apply for the Commonwealth Scholarship and you don't gain it, your life will no longer be the same. If you did this application with the whole of your heart, you know why your life will no longer be the same? It's because you would have gotten a plan of where you would be in the next 5 years. You have gotten a plan on where you will be in years. Please, can you mute yourself, please? You already gotten a plan where you will be in the next 5 years. Okay, so your next plan in the next 5 years. So when you come back to your country, what are you going to do? For example, you've identified that there is a public health crisis, and this public health crisis is due to lack of awareness about maybe drugs, for example, lack of awareness about drugs, and you've stated so many problems. Now you've gotten the skills that can address this problem. Now, when you get back home, what are you going to do? Okay, are you going to engage in sensitization programs that are going to increase the awareness of people towards these drugs? Are you going to create a non-governmental organization that's going to be in charge of, meeting people and going around and teaching people and creating awareness about communicable diseases? Or are you going to get a job with maybe Pfizer, for example, that is developing COVID-19 drugs, to see how you can develop, more robust COVID-19 drugs? What are you going to do when you come back home? State it there. Are you going to be getting a job? Are you going to be going into entrepreneurship? Are you going to be starting up a non-governmental organization? Are you going to be doing are you going to, whatever you think you're going to be doing during those 5 years after your award, you should state it there, and then be detailed as much as possible. Okay, so beyond, let me just give you an example straight from my from my essay to put things in perspective. For example, okay, yeah, I stated that, okay, so probably you're back from this, from your course, and remember, you said here that you want to be able to bridge the knowledge gaps people have about climate change, for example, about climate change. So do you want to take up a lecturing position, or do you want to start up a training institute that teaches people about climate change? Or you, for example, you're a tech person and you've studied computer science or cybersecurity in the UK. You've applied for cybersecurity in the UK. Now you're back to the country and you know there's a fraud issue in Nigeria. Are you going to be organizing trainings about cybersecurity and all in the country? Okay, are you going to be doing that? Are you going to start a training institute that are going to train students and then link it to the UK? Whatever you think you're going to be doing during your after 5 years, state it there. Okay. Now, these things that you're stating in your 5-year career plan, they should be things that you can do. Okay. If you get a job or go for entrepreneurship, it should be something you know you can do. Okay. It should not be something that, oh, that would depend on this or that would depend on that would depend on so many things. No, it is something that you can do. All right. Then I'll go to the long-term career plans. Now, this is where you can be very ambitious. Be very ambitious here. Be very, very ambitious here. Okay. Do you aim to be a president? Do you aim to be the Minister of Health in Nigeria? State it. That I hope to be a minister, okay, that in tandem or in the long term, I hope to probably get a doctorate, work in policy, in health policies, and in one time I hope to attain the position of a Minister of Health in Nigeria. Then through that position, I'll be able to do A, B, C, D. You understand me? Whatever you're saying, you should say what you're going to do as a result of that position. Okay? So be ambitious here. Be very ambitious. Commonwealth are looking for ambitious people. So be very ambitious here and state what you can do. And then those things that you're saying that you're going to do in the long term should be related to your 5-year career plan. So your 5-year career plan should build the basic infrastructure for that. So for example, you said you want to be one of the best policy makers. You know, you want to be able to create good policies in the health systems in Nigeria. That's your long-term plan. But in your immediate plan, there is nothing about policy in it. Then there is a mismatch. When will you connect your 5 years plan to your long-term plan then? So you should be thinking, oh, when I come back to the country, I'll take a job in the policy sector. Probably in my long-term plan, I'll go and get a doctorate in public health. After my doctorate in public health, I'll return back to the public service, and then I aim to be a minister of this and all that. So be creative and talk so much on what you can do and be ambitious. Now, this is the last part for my own side, which I'm going to be talking about, which is that you should provide a short outline of your proposed study or research. Now, this should be a well-written this should be where you should be written for an audience that does not have any prior knowledge of the subject and must not be overly technical. Any abbreviations or specialist terms must be explained. Okay. For me, I would suggest that you talk about the research that you're going to do. That's what I would suggest. I don't think for me it will make sense. This is me speaking now. I'm not saying this is how it applies to everybody. For me, I don't think it will make sense to tell them here that, for example, you're going to tell them that you're going to do this, you're going to do that. I think here you should just state the research you're going to be doing and how each of the courses that you're going to be doing will develop your knowledge on that inside. Let me give for example. You want to work in the area, you're applying for public health, and you're looking at researching about how Nigeria can, improve public health using technology. Okay, using technology, how they can improve their public health. Then you should also state that during the course, check your modules for the courses. There should be a course that has to do with tech, biotechnology or something. So from there, you now say, oh, from this course, I'll be able to develop this skill. And using this skill, I'll be able to research in this area. And then you state what you're going to be researching on. And you then talk about what will be the benefit of this research. And you link it up to your development impact. Link it up to also the need in your country. Okay, link it up to the need in your country, link it up to your development impact, and then link it up to your future plan and your vision for your country. All right, so this is what you should write in clear terms. You don't need to use technical jargons. I'm going to give an example from the fintech point of view. For example, some of you have heard about blockchain technology. Okay, so maybe I'm writing that I'm going to be researching on blockchain technology for sustainable blockchain technology for financial inclusion in Nigeria. For example, blockchain technology for financial inclusion in Nigeria. That's what I want to research on. Then I will say that, okay, during this course, I'll be taking a particular module that is called blockchain technology. In that module, I'll be able to develop the ample skill I would need to research on the area of blockchain technology for financial inclusion in Nigeria. Then you talk about the problem of financial inclusion in Nigeria, that it is noted by the World Bank organization that Nigeria has so financial exclusion. And this problem is so problem, and it needs to be addressed. And this is why it needs to be addressed. And through this research, you'll be able to address it, because this research will do this. So this is what you should state in your proposed study plan. And remember, the word count. So it should not be beyond 125 words. So in a nutshell, state what you're going to be doing. All right. So I think that is that for the other 4 essays. If you have any question now for this part, kindly put those questions on the chat box if you guys don't mind, and I will go to Edwin to give us the last part of the talk. Edwin, please, you just come on and then you give us the last 4 essays. And after we are done with the last 4 essays, then we'll open the session for question and answers. And I'll please advise those the questions that we've not answered, kindly, when we go back to the question and answer time, please copy and paste your question again so that we'll be able to see them and answer them. Thank you. Edwin, you have the floor now, please.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Faithful, and great discussion so far. Very wonderful insights from you and Joan so far, and I'm happy to continue in the same line. In fact, to be frank, I feel like I should just say amen at this point. So, because you guys have literally combed every single thing, but I'm happy to share my own thoughts, what I could add to the subject. So I'll just go ahead and try to share my screen. All right. Great. You guys see my screen now?
Yes, we can. Beautiful presentation, I must say.
All right, thanks. So I'm a bit of a corporate guy, and I like being on the spotlight, if I would say. So they will have to listen to me. This presentation will make absolutely no sense to anyone if the person wasn't part of this, this talk. So I'll just come back on a couple of points before I proceed to what I want to do, which is talking about the need to do your homework. So you've got to do your homework here. And doing your homework means taking time off, going to the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship website and reading. If you want to go to the UK, one skill you need to have is to read. The British man writes a lot. And if you don't take the habit of reading, you would fall into trouble a lot of times, because they will always give you terms and conditions very long. And if you don't read them and you go against the law, that's when they show you that, oh, everything was written down. So what I'm saying is they'll provide a lot to you. I think for the Commonwealth Master Scholarship, they even tell you how they are going to grade your application. Those are a lot of insights that other scholarships don't give you. You want to take advantage of it. ask yourself, first of all, grade yourself based on the criteria. They've told you this is how we'll grade your application. Trust me, that's how they will grade it. There was one thing that Faithful said here, which was really, I just want to stress the point about, what are you going to be doing whilst studying in the UK? And the question you ask is, okay, how do I even get to know about all of these things he's talking about, these clubs and this society or all that stuff? It comes down to doing your assignment, spending time on the school's website. As opposed to most of us that grew up in Africa, you bear with me that the universities are pretty responsive. You send emails, they reply. If they have student ambassadors, you can talk to them, get information about the schools. The student unions are very active across social media platforms. And most times it's not like they're trying to trap you. They just want to see that you know where you're even going to with all of this thing about going to study in the UK. Have you done the bare minimum, which is doing your own research? Those things that are out there. So this comes back to one point that personally, I won't answer any question I think that is found on the website, because it just shows that you want to, I don't know what to say, but you want to do your own part, go and read those things, because there's a whole lot of information that you find from there. Now, I want to say my own presentation, I say start with why. And I say start with why because there are two questions I ask myself always: why and how. It's very important. Faithful said something that in your long-term plan, be ambitious. I can give you insights from one of the, one of the graders of the ACs who said, we are not going to, well, that was for the Commonwealth Master Scholarship. I don't know if it's valid for shared scholarship, but we will not grade you based on what you say, even if it's too ambitious, as long as you show us how you're going to get there. You say you're going to become president of Nigeria, fine. It's your dream. No one has the right to argue with you. Well, it's debatable whether you can achieve it or not. But if you show us a plan which makes sense about how you achieve it, we'll give you a good mark for it because it's logical. Even though we know that it may just never happen because it sounds overly ambitious, but you have a plan which looks real. And that's why I talk about two things here. So whether you're talking about whatever ambition, have a reason. If you're going to change jobs, why? You're going to return to your country to work in the private or NGO, why? 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 I think it's not just about saying what, focus on the why. That's what's going to make you stand out. That's really what's going to make the difference, because they know that this guy knows what he's talking about. There is a justification, and it shows that you're intentional. It means things don't just happen to you by chance, but you really take part. It means you're in the driving seat of your career. You're in the driving seat of whatever you want to do in terms of creating impact in your community. So we're going to discuss about a number of points, which is really contacting your institution, details regarding your study plan. These essays have been shared with you, so I'm not going to repost the essay prompts. We'll talk a little about your personal statement, your volunteering, and then I'll just round up with putting everything in perspective altogether. So, well, if they're asking you about contacting your institutions, frankly, it's just to know if you've done the bare minimum. And when in this essay, what I'm going to recommend to you is you want to think about your prospective supervisors. So if you say you want to come to the UK to study on some research area, can you at least tell us that you've contacted a supervisor, or you've contacted the head of department of that program, or the director of programs? What's your contact with the institution? Are you proactive about this thing, or it's just, okay, you've just put the name of the school there? So you want to think about admissions officers that you spoke to them. If you have names that you can use, are there webinars that you attended? Did your university organize some program about, admissions into that program you want to get into, which you attended? Is it alumni from that university or current students who are doing that program from which you receive some insights or had discussions, or students ambassadors and all that stuff? So it could be one or more or any of these things, or even something which is not stated in the list. But to me here, the objective is really to show that, yeah, I'm active, I'm doing something about my admission, I'm really interested in this school, I'm trying to find out as much information and to dig up as much information as possible with respect to my future career or future academic plans. So in the essay that's interested in why that particular course or that particular university, I'll tell you why this course you want to return to one thing, which is recall your impact statement. What's your development impact? In fact, when you're answering this, what I'm going to say is everything here is not about you. It's about everything but you. It's not about, I want to get this master's because I'll secure myself a good job. Well, maybe it's true. I know for most people it's true. But the question I'm going to ask you is why should the CSC, as Faithful said, invest 20 million naira plus to send you to university just because you want to earn a higher salary or you want to guarantee a better life for your family? Definitely, that's like a secondary objective, but it should not be the primary objective for why you're choosing that particular course. So in answering this question, think about the impact that you studying this course can create. Because as I always tell those I work with, your essay is one long story that they have just split into different essays. And if you start seeing that every part of it is interlinked, then you understand that there needs to be some coherence. So as Joan and Faithful would have presented, you've already identified a gap, which is a problem in your community that you want to solve. Definitely, the course should be a skill that you don't have at the moment, or it should be a certain competence or some experience that by studying this program you will gain that you don't have, that will help you to be able to address that problem that you've identified in your community, in your country, or whatever area that you identified. So that's how you need to link them. You want to think about your long-term objectives, because if you don't show that this course is useful for your impact, then you don't need this course and you definitely don't need the scholarship. I'll give an example. You don't want to be doing health and then you're applying for, you cannot say your impact is to do something about health, then you're applying for a program in engineering and we don't see the link, unless you can create the link. So if you really want to show that this course is important for your country, then you want to show us that it links to your long-term goals. In fact, you don't want to come, the CSE will not want to pay 20 million for you to study a program that will help you for just 1 year. It's the return on investment is not good enough. So let's talk like that. I'm more of a corporate guy. So the return on investment is not good. So you want to show us that in your long-term objective, this UK Masters will help you in what you'll be doing down the line in 5 years, in 10 years, and all the line. And as I said, it's about everything but you. It's about that problem you want to solve. It's about the impact that you want to create in your community and all whatnot. With respect to why the university, so this is really one AC, you really need to be, you don't have to rant like myself. You have to be very succinct in how you bring across your thoughts. The reputation of your university in the chosen field could be a reason why you want to study in that university. It's not just enough for you to say, oh, this university is ranked 50. It's also about telling us some insight with respect to the course, because a university could be very highly ranked, but it's not good for your particular course. So you want to get into some deeper insights like that. It could be about the location. So not because you want to be close to Manchester United and you love Manchester United Football Club, that's why you're applying to University of Manchester. But you could apply to maybe University of Stirling because you want to study financial technology, and you hear that in Stirling has a reputation for being a small hub. So it's like a Silicon Valley for financial technology. Now that makes sense why you've chosen that university instead of going to study in London, even though it's bigger. So you want to look at those insights. Why does this location stand out? Is there a research facility that is doing some work which is so great in my field that if I'm in that town, I become close to that research facility? And then you link it up to Faithful's essay, which was talking about what are you going to be doing when you are on the scholarship? Maybe it was about attending conferences. Maybe it was about volunteering at a certain research facility, which does something related to your plan. And then that would justify why you want to go to this particular university and be in that town or in a neighboring town because it's a 2-hour commute. So this is just to open your mind. I'm not saying it's always going to be the case. It could be a whole lot of other things. But when you're thinking of location, it should not be because it's around the beach and the climate is good. Wow. Maybe for some people, if you can coin it well, great. But I would always want to look at it like, what's my program? If I'm in this university, what facilities or opportunities does it open me to? Why is this location a good location for me? So it's all about asking yourself why, which is why I always say start with why. So as another reason for choosing a given university could just be the research group that you want to join. So some institutions, they have a certain research facility in collaboration with maybe a certain company. You could use that as a whole, as as something that you want to put forth. It could be a certain professor who has published a lot of things in a field which is related to what you want to do or is related to the impact. And then you could say, oh, working with this kind of person, or if this person is going to be my teacher based on this research, I could gain a lot from him. So these are the kinds of things that you want to be thinking about when you're writing this essay. And as I
Yeah,
said,
excuse me, Edwin, please. Just
yes,
to cut you short a bit, I'll just be taking permission from the attendees. We did say that we'll be having this session from 8 to 10, but we've been trying to be thorough and well detailed, and it's just 5 minutes to the last to 10. And I just want to engrave in your indulgence that we'll be taking maybe 30 minutes more. But please feel free to drop out from this session if you have something to do by 10. We'll be taking just 30 minutes more so that we'll be able to finish this session and then go into the question and answers. All right, but feel free to drop out at any time after 10 as you would want. All right, thank you. Edwin, can you just kindly continue?
okay, Faithful. So with respect to why is UK or why you want to study in the UK, I think all of this is still one essay. It's really, it could be a couple of things, the culture, it could be the UK experience, it could really be just the fact that the UK for a very long time has built a reputation as being that destination for higher education. They have the reputation. So that could really be a reason why you want to study in the UK. It could be some cultural exchange. So a lot of points. I really don't want to stress much about that because it's really a trivial kind of something. With respect to what you're really trying to look for or what you want to get in the course, I really look at just two things here. It's really the content. And here, most of these universities, we don't want you, I don't think the CSC or the school wants you to create anything. Most universities will put on their website the course outline. So the question for you is go and look at that course outline and see what they have told you that they will deliver in that course. And then try to link it to your problem, try to link it to your study, or try to link it to whatever impact you're trying to create. And then automatically you get what you're looking for in that content, in that program. It could be two courses that really stand out. It could be because, okay, I've been studying, maybe I'm in the health field, but I realize that we have a problem with maybe financial management or supply of medication, which is why I want to do maybe health system supply or health system economics or something like that. And then you start identifying certain courses that directly are going to help you, or the kinds of skills, because those courses have objectives at the end of it. So go back there, read those things, and then take back the same things that they have told you about the program, adapt it to your own needs, and then you give the CSC as what you're going to be getting out of that course. And then again, I come to why that particular course. So it's important, and I still come back again to what's the underlying problem. The underlying problem here is you've identified a gap in your community. You're very motivated and you're committed to making a difference in that particular area. So what you're really looking for in this course is the opportunity to create impact, and you need to show the CSE that this course gives you or equips you with all the arsenal that you need to be able to do that. And so let's take it from another angle. if you cannot show that this course is going to help you for that to create that impact, then you don't need the course. If you don't even show that you need the course, then it means you don't need to come to the UK, because if you know already, so if you cannot identify a gap, if you cannot identify a skill shortage that you have, you cannot identify something which is required. So if right now you don't show me that I need to study a master's in this, and that already I'm able to do everything that I need to do, then you don't need to come to the UK, because you're creating impact already. So in as much as I always tell you guys that, yeah, give the best of yourself and so on, you need to be smart enough to know that I must create a gap. There is a skill gap that needs to be filled. Else, there is no need, because if you, for instance, you're teaching in the university, let's take a banal case, you're teaching in the university already, and you're teaching financial technology, and then you're proving to us that your students are doing outstanding well, and then you come and you're asking for a master's scholarship to study finance technology, and your plan is to go back and teach. The question I'll ask is that, but you're teaching already and your students are doing well, so you don't actually need it. So in as much as you'll be strong, you have good academic results, you have competitive extracurricular activities, you won't get the scholarship. Not because you're not good, but because the CSE thinks you're too good already and you don't need the opportunity. So we are going to give people that actually need the opportunity. So you want to think about these things, and that's why the why is very important. That skill gap that you have, link it to the problem, which is the impact that you want to create, and then you know exactly what you're looking for in that particular course. The last section, which is about any dissertations, is really a little bit trivial to me also. Trivial in the sense that it's going to change. I can assure you that most of what you think you do as dissertation will change when you get to the UK. But it's really important that you show that you have an idea. It's not for you to go give a whole research proposal. It's really for you here to say, okay, this is what I'm interested in. A few words. I'm interested in looking at this. In those kinds of terminologies. So it's not just too global, but it's not too narrow. So I'm interested in looking at how we can improve on maybe access to healthcare using technology, which is why I want to study maybe health system technology. I'm just saying things randomly. So you can start from there, and then you coin that, okay, my dissertation will be probably focusing on if we can improve on this. So what I really want to is say, if someone were to ask you, what's your research interest, for instance, what are you going to say? I think that's what I recommend that you do it here. So as I said, just stay coherent. It's not an issue if you're not exactly clear, but if you know it, it definitely gives you an added advantage above others. And I'm saying this because I never had anything like, okay, a dissertation topic or something, but I just told them, okay, these are my interests. This is what I'll be interested in studying in terms of research. I'll be looking at something in this light, but it wasn't particularly very specific, I would say. So I'm going to rush on the next slide, which is really about the 3 keywords here. If you're very familiar with writing articles, academic articles, then you know that at the end of your abstract, you always put those keywords. So the 3 keywords here is, if someone were to ask you to summarize your entire academic research, how will you summarize it? Which 3 keywords are important? So, or which are the words that we use in the field a lot? So if I'm talking about maybe environment, something related to environment, I'll be thinking maybe sustainability, maybe global warming, maybe my keywords or stuff like that. So it should be really keywords that can help to give a lot of perspective about the program. So here there is no essay to write, it's just to identify them. So I'm going to spend a little bit more time here talking about your personal statement, and then on the other hand, your volunteering and leadership, and then I'll just put everything together. And as it goes, the name is a personal statement. It has to be personal. So my rule of the thumb is, if I remove your name and I put somebody's name and that essay does not look stupid, then it's a bad essay. It's a bad personal statement. If I replace your name with another person and the person can use that essay, then you've not written a personal statement. It has to be you. It has to be that when someone reads it without seeing who wrote it, the person who knows you can identify that this is the personal statement of Faithful, or this belongs to Joan, or it belongs to Oyomide or something. So that's really it. So make it personal and really make it unique. So it should be that golden egg, really within eggs of different color. That because that's really what makes you stand out. And in the personal statement, the CSE was really focused on what challenges that you overcame to access quality education. And this is important because, as Faithful said in the beginning, they are looking for people who otherwise will not be able to study in the UK without a scholarship, which is why it's important for you to show them that, okay, somehow my parents, well, I cannot afford UK studies without a scholarship. I'm not saying that you want to go and sound desperate, because that's the worst thing you can do. You don't want to sound desperate, but you want to give them perspective. And I'm going to explain why. There are a lot of things that if I don't understand how you grew up, what are the realities in your country, I wouldn't make a lot of sense out of it. So this personal statement is for you to help the person who has never met you, who does not know you as an individual, to set the tone so that the person understands the context in which everything you've written is happening. So help him to understand, how does living in Nigeria or in Kenya look like? And when you're writing the personal statement, the few tips I'll tell you is always try to use a currency that they are familiar with. I'll give, for instance, instead of saying my parents earn or our family income was only 200,000 naira, well, he may think that the naira is equivalent to the dollar, they won't, but you just want to avoid those things because $200,000 is so much money. But if you convert it and it becomes maybe 40,000 naira or something, and the person can relate to you that, okay, with this amount of money, this guy came from a difficult background or not. So these are some of the kinds of things that you want to do in your personal statement. Focus on the learnings and how those things have shaped you. Trust me, most of you on this call are not poor, because if you hear the story of some guy from South Sudan who grew up in a refugee camp, so if you want to use empathy, if you want to use sympathy, it will not work. Let me just put it that way. Sympathy doesn't work. So don't try to make as if you're the poorest guy on earth, you're so suffering and so on and so forth. It's a bad personal statement as far as I think. Well, that's my opinion though. But if you tell us a little bit about your difficulties and focus on having a positive mindset, everyone wants to affiliate to people who are very positive in mind. So yes, things were difficult, but what did you learn from it? How did it shape you? It could be that, yes, I had difficulties being able to pay my fees. I had to sell after school to pay my fees, but what did it teach me? What I learned from it is that I can be resilient. What I learned from it is that, yes, even though in the midst of difficulty, I will push on and I'll always drive to achieve my dreams. That's how, even though I never saw myself going to university, I was able to sponsor myself through university. And that mindset makes me to believe that even without any means, I will be able to get to study in the UK because this is what I want to do with it. Now that's a powerful AC than just telling me that, oh, I didn't have money to go to university, I had to sell. My point is, so what? You didn't, so what? So what you really want to do is give them the so what, which is, how did it shape you? How did this thing transform you? How has it made you a better person? In your personal statement, I encourage that you empathize with the problem. So try to put yourself. It's always easy when you're talking from someone who experienced it. So use anecdotes, use stories, okay, to be able to convey your information. Try to be at the center of the movie. So don't tell me you want to create impact in a community you've never lived in because you don't know the realities. So if you were probably in, let's say, Ajegule or something, don't tell me how you want to create impact in Warri, unless you know the realities in Warri. So start from Ajegule and expand to Warri. I don't know, I'm just saying names of places randomly. So that's what I'm really gonna say. If you've experienced a problem firsthand, even better, because you can relate to it. And then don't use it for empathy, but use it to show that you master the problem and that I am the guy. So I'm not saying you're a Superman, but you just want to show them that I know this problem because I grew up with this problem. I spent a lot of time thinking about this problem. And believe me, I'm the right person that if you give me this opportunity, then in fact, it's an investment you're making in me. And that investment will help me to pull out many people out of that difficulty. So this is the kind of attitude that you want to have when you're writing this particular essay. And as I said, focus on the why. It's not important to just say, it's why you did everything. Why is it that you're helping out people? Maybe you're passionate about it. Or this is because you have a philosophy in life. I have my own personal life philosophies, and it explains every single thing that I do. So that's the why, and it's more compelling when we understand why you're doing certain things than just the thing. So in your volunteering and leadership, this is really where you want to show how awesome you are. So use this as an opportunity to show your awesomeness.
Not
so
eat.
Mikah, please, you can unmute yourself. I muted you mistakenly.
Oh, that's fine. No problem.
Yeah, so when the baby was trying to, listen to us and, give her, the baby is also participating, and maybe that's a Commonwealth scholar in the making, who knows?
Oh, sure.
All right, continue, please.
So really in your volunteering and leadership, I want you to think about it in this way. Show that you've not folded your arms the entire time. Show that even with little resources, I've been able to do something. Therefore, if you give me more, I will do more. I think that's the logic. The logic is that if you fold your arms and say, oh, I have nothing, if you have 1,000 today and you cannot give somebody 100, it's not when you have 1,000,000 that you give them 1,000. So you need to really show that, yeah, even though I have little, even though with little resources, I've been able to take advantage of that little. So if you give me more, well, trust me, I'll be able to do more with it. That's the mindset. And your essays should come across that way. And as I keep saying, it's not the number that matters. It's track record. I think I would appreciate an essay where you show me how you've been promoting education over 7 years, even if you've helped just 100 people, than to tell me of one event that you organized and 2,000 people attended. I don't see a track record. It's circumstantial. I would prefer somebody who is committed, because I know that if this guy has been doing it for 7 years, there's a chance that he's not going to let it go tomorrow. But somebody who shows me just one event I did here and so on and so forth, it doesn't help a lot. And then the same thing I keep saying, it's not about the number of I've held this position and so on. Leadership could even be at your workplace. It must not be public leadership. It must not be some NGO or being co-founder of this and that. If you are, then it's fine. If you founded an organization, great. But that's not the most important thing. Even at your workplace, you can show leadership in many, many different ways. And I really want you to think about what is leadership to you, because leadership is one of those things I've never felt that there is a consensus on the best definition. So figure out what your leadership is, and then show them how you've illustrated that leadership over, at your workplace, maybe in school, maybe as a volunteer, or maybe within your own organization. So commitment is more important than than size, if I would say. So find those things, even if it's one example, that show us that even if you've been doing different things, you've held different positions, they are related. They are all in health. They are all in promoting education. Instead of picking one in education, picking one in gender equality, I feel like you don't really have a direction. I don't know where you're going to. And then make sure that whatever you're doing is in line with the Sustainable Development Goals. That's the language that every country in this world speaks today. And if it's not in line with the Sustainable Development Goals, then it's really hard for you to really say, okay, I'm making a difference, or I'm actually really creating impact here. So to cap up everything, these are my thoughts actually. To put everything together, I would say always start with why. And starting with why means asking yourself too many whys. Why do I want to study in the UK? Why do I want to study this program? And that's why Faithful said, even if you don't get this scholarship, you would have, in fact, my experience applying for the Commonwealth Scholarship is you think so much about your plan and what you want to do that even if you don't get the scholarship, you've had a lot of insight, because I don't think I'd ever sat down to really think about my plans as much as I did when I was in the process of applying to the scholarship. So ask yourself those whys. Why is this important? Why at this time? Why am I going to resign to go back to the UK? Why? And then make sure that you tell them those whys. It's important that they know those whys. Be unique. Your DNA, it's you. Try as much as possible. Do not copy people's essays. I'm not saying don't read people's essays, but write yours first before you read people's essays. Don't copy. It's a very bad idea. It's intellectual dishonesty for you to copy, by the way. Do not exaggerate and do not tell lies. A very bad move. Be modest. So if you did it, great, say it. If you did not do it, don't lie, because it's going to catch up with you. Always consider that your entire application package is one long story that has been split to you in different parts. Therefore, those parts need to either be supporting each other or they need to fit in perfectly like a jigsaw puzzle. And lastly, I would say do your research sufficiently. Read blogs, go to the scholarship essays, read about the essays, go to the university's website, spend time to know your school, spend time to know your program, speak to the admissions officers, email some of those lecturers and ask for time, office time with them. They'll be happy to get 30 minutes to answer your questions about the program and every other thing. So I think those are my thoughts with respect to that section, and I'm happy to connect with anyone if you deem necessary in the future. Over to you, Faithful.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Edwin. Thank you so much, Mikah. You've done great. Like, this is rich. It is very, very rich. I feel like applying for a scholarship right now. After hearing all this, I feel like applying for a scholarship. Okay, right. So it was very rich, very detailed. We thank you, and thank you, Joan, too, for those lovely insights. Thank you for those lovely insights, and the beauty of how we've been able to put all these things together to have one long story of yourself. Like, it's so beautiful. So thanks, guys.